We've been looking at ways cryptocurrencies can be a force for positive change. One example is Ripple. It's a platform used to make international monetary transactions faster and cheaper. Now, one way Ripple facilitates that is by using the cryptocurrency XRP. I asked CEO Brad Garlinghouse to explain what XRP actually is and how it all works. Listen in.
XRP is like a Bitcoin. It's a digital asset. It's today the third most valuable digital asset. And what we do is we take a transaction between banks, and instead of having a bank pre-fund an account at the other bank, which is how correspondent banking works today, the Bank of Brad in dollars would pre-fund to the Bank of Julia, perhaps in pounds, and then I would debit and credit that. But that means I have to pre-fund and have dormant capital sitting at that other bank. What we allow banks to do, we allow payment providers to do, is to tap into the liquidity of XRP liquidity. So today there's lots of liquidity between XRP and US dollar. There's lots of liquidity between XRP and British pound. And you could tap into that to move value in real time, in seconds. And even compared to Bitcoin, which takes up to 12 minutes to complete one transaction, XRP is extremely fast at about 3 seconds per transaction. That has meant XRP is extremely scalable in contrast to how Bitcoin works.
So it basically goes, Bank Brad has dollars, dollars get transferred to XRP, then XRP is transferred to sterling, and sterling then hits Bank Julia. That's how it works.
That's exactly right. And so from a consumer point of view and how we're working with, for example, a MoneyGram, the consumer itself doesn't actually see that it's flowing through XRP to solve the problem. What the consumer sees is simply a better product at a better price. That's good for MoneyGram, that's good for MoneyGram's customers. And so we're seeing more momentum than we've ever had around using XRP to move this liquidity around the world. And so we couldn't really be happier about how that has played out in a world where there's still a lot, I think, of FUD, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt about what's going on in crypto. This is a real use case solving a real problem for real customers.
Okay, so which banks right now are actually using Ripple?
Well, we have signed up about over 200 banks around the world. Some of those banks just use our software to do that debit and credit, fiat to fiat, and some of them are using XRP in those flows. We have banks like Santander that we've been working with for years and are moving lots of volume through the Ripple's technology. And then, as I mentioned earlier, payment providers like MoneyGram or RIA or Asimov that are using XRP actually to move that liquidity and really reducing their costs and improving the product.
Just in terms of the transactions, though, that you're seeing using Ripple, what proportion of those actually use XRP versus direct, and just where do you see that ratio going? I'm just trying to get a sense of sort of how much XRP itself is actually used as part of the Ripple platform.
So I would say the order of magnitude, the way to think about it, is similar to the proportion of customers. So if we've got, I don't know, a couple hundred customers we have launched, 10 to 15 of them we've talked about using XRP. I would use that ratio as the total ratio between what's happening with Ripple's technology overall